Thank you for tuning in to The Balancing Fact. I'm Angela Calais. I have been a full-time realtor for the past 16 years. With 3 kids running a real estate brokerage, I work to dispel the myth that you cannot have a work-life balance when working in real estate. That balance looks different for everybody. Today, my guest is Doug Sprague. Doug is the founder and managing broker of Firefly Real Estate, an independent and family-owned brokerage in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. He has been a licensed agent since 2002 and a broker since 2006. Doug has mastered geographical niche marketing with his firm Firefly Real Estate. He has a lot to share about the benefits of niche marketing and how to develop your niche. I can't wait to talk to him about this. Hi, good morning, Doug. Thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome. How are you, Angela?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Staying busy? Crazy?
Yeah. It's been a very interesting year and a half, but remarkably, the real estate business has not had a huge negative impact. So I guess that makes all of us real estate brokers happy.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've been through the cycles. You've seen the ups and the downs. You've been doing this for 19 years, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So what made you decide to get into real estate?
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. I used to own a my background was in the restaurant and hospitality business, and really? I used to own a tavern in Milwaukee. And my wife and I decided we wanted to buy an investment property. We had some extra cash, and we decided we wanted to buy a investment property, a duplex in the Washington Heights area in Milwaukee. And we ended up buying one, and at the end of the transaction, my wife said to me, I think I could have done as good of a job as that guy did for us. He wasn't very strong, and he wasn't a very good agent. And my wife had never worked full-time in our entire marriage, so she said to me, I think I'd like to try to sell real estate. I'm like, well, okay, go for it, whatever. And it was amazing because within probably a year and a half or 2 years of my wife Colleen starting to sell real estate, she was making more money selling real estate than I was running the tavern. And she became a top producer for Shore West Realtors for within probably 5 years. She was one of the top 5 agents at Shore West, and they've got, as you know, they've got 1,100 or 1,200 agents, so that's pretty remarkable. But so that's after a few years of Colleen's success, I said to myself, well, I don't know why I'm sitting here breathing secondhand smoke and dealing with, people that are drinking too much and working late nights and all this other stuff. Maybe I should sell the bar and work with you at Shore West. And that's what we did. So for 4 or 5 years, we worked together at Shore West, and we're able to develop a reputation and pick up enough market share that we said, you know what, I think we could do this on our own. And I approached my wife with a business plan to start Firefly Real Estate. And in 2010, we left the big box brokerage, opened up a mom and pop shop literally in our basement of our house, and started selling real estate started at Firefly our first year there. And I think our business plan called for selling 50 houses our first year, and I think we were fortunate enough to sell 79.
Wow.
And it just got better and better every year. We added agents as we went, and that's where we sit now. I think we've got 19 agents at Firefly.
That's awesome. So I have so many questions for you. So I also worked for Shore West, so we were there around the same time. I left a little bit earlier, but everybody kind of has their reasons for going out on their own. Did you feel like if you were going to go out on your own, you definitely wanted to have a niche and you wanted to have a geographic niche? Or was it, we're going to go out on our own no matter what, now let's figure out what this is going to look like?
Yeah, well, we had been the top producing agents in Wauwatosa on both listings and on the buy side. My wife worked as a listing agent. I worked strictly with buyers, and we had been the top agents in Wauwatosa for probably the last 2 or 3 years that we worked at Shore West. And
so you were really developing that niche prior to.
Right. And as you probably remember, Angela, Shore West said that prior to that was called Wauwatosa Realty.
Oh,
and
that's
that was
right.
That was their focus. And We just felt that the fact that Shore West had gotten so big that they had moved literally, around the state of Wisconsin and opened up offices all over Wisconsin. I thought, here's our opportunity to really focus on a geographic area that we live in, that our kids go to school in, and it's our hometown, the area that we love the most. So we thought, let's focus on Wauwatosa. The name Firefly comes from the the word Wauwatosa comes from the Potawatomi language of. It actually translates to firefly. Wauwatosa means firefly. There's several businesses here in Wauwatosa that are called Firefly. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Googling that after I heard that you had started your brokerage. I thought, I wonder where they came up with this name. And so then I Googled it. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
You're defining that area without just kind of coming right out and saying it, which is neat.
Yep.
So when you first started because the reason this is so intriguing to me is because I think that one of the best ways to really grow a real estate business and a real estate brand is to have a niche. And I think geographical niches are probably, that you could have and I know some people say niche. I say niche. I don't know. I don't know the correct
Whatever
term,
feels
the
best
correct
for
way
you.
to say
Sure.
that, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Some people will gear towards first-time home buyers or towards seniors. And I've always thought that the geographical niche is really I think it's the easiest to target as far as marketing goes. And I think it helps as far as how I'm going to spend my time, not just travel time, but you can really focus in on your message and your marketing. But there's probably something scary about maybe thinking that you're limiting yourself. Did you have anything that that came about that you weren't kind of expecting, positive or negative, from really targeting in on a specific?
Well, when we left Shore West, we had heard some people, I guess through the grapevine, that said, gee, they're really pigeonholing themselves. Why, they're just going to work in Wauwatosa. Our website and our branding pretty much focuses on Wauwatosa, but right now we're doing probably I just looked this up about a week ago. 60% in the last year, 60% of our business is outside of Wauwatosa.
Oh.
And as you know, you list a property in Wauwatosa, but those people may be moving to Menominee Falls, or they might move to a condo in Pewaukee or whatever. So you end up helping people, and then 5 years later, 7 years later, they're calling you again and say, hey, Doug, we're going to move to Des Moines, and we want you to list our Pewaukee condo. So
it's really a starting point.
Sure it is. And as you know, the most successful people in this business are people that build their business through referrals and through past clients. So as you grow and as you have more transactions, it's just natural that you're going to spread out and branch out a little bit. The one thing that I think is important for our agents to remember, we stress this, is that you want to stay in your wheelhouse. You don't, if you try to spread yourself too thin and try to become a neighborhood expert in Cedarburg when you only sell one house a year in Cedarburg, people are going to see through that. And you're far better off being transparent. And when you get that client that says, hey, I'm thinking about moving to Cedarburg, be honest with them and said, I've never sold a house in Cedarburg. I'm happy to get the information. I'm happy to do the research. And if you feel I'm the right agent for you, I want to do my best work for you, but it's not my wheelhouse. It's not my area of expertise. So I think specializing in an area, specializing in a geographic area, I think that's a benefit to anyone. But I know a lot of great agents that are very successful in many different communities, and God bless them. If that works out for them, that's great. But I think being a neighborhood expert and having knowledge of where the pick and save is and where the best place to get a pizza is, there's value to that for your client.
Yeah. So when you first started kind of building this business in Tosa, or Colleen started, and when you were still at Shore West, was that intentional, Or was it because you're from Tosa, maybe involved in things that are going on there, that it just kind of naturally started and you saw an opportunity?
Yeah, I think, again, when Colleen started at Shore West and when I joined her, Shore West was Wauwatosa focused, and uh, a real legend in Wauwatosa real estate was Pat Schmidt. She was our I wouldn't say she was our mentor, but she was a great leader in that office. And um, seeing Pat and how she had dominated the market in the years prior by focusing on Wauwatosa properties, I think having visibility, and when you're in a neighborhood, when you have kids going to schools. At that time, we had one kid in Tosa High School, we had one kid in a Tosa Middle School, and one kid in an elementary school. And you get to know parents, and you get to see people, and get involved in things. But it's a process, and I think, unfortunately, for a lot of new agents, what they don't understand is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time
Yeah.
to build that reputation. You don't just get your license and say, "Hey, I'm now the Pasadena neighborhood expert." It doesn't work that way. People need to see your name on the signs. They need to hear referrals from other people that you've done business with. And unfortunately, too many agents give up too soon. I don't know if we're going to talk about that later, but that's really a big problem in this business, is the massive amount of turnover, because agents they give up before they have an opportunity for their business to take off.
Yeah, it's hard for them to see the work that goes on the back end, because I know there is that misconception that realtors just kind of go out there, some friends, they buy some houses, easy money. Right?
Well, right. I use a phrase once in a while around the office that is that, any chimpanzee can sell a house. You can get lucky, and you have a friend or a family member that wants to use you to buy a house, and you can get to the closing table and you've got your first transaction. So that's great. But the true professionals and the real all-stars in this business are ones that provide such quality service that they take that one transaction and get 2 more transactions from it, and then they get 4 transactions from those 2 and 8 from those. And if you do a great job for people, that natural, upside down pyramid of your business growing is going to take place. If you do a crappy job for people, they're never going to refer you, and you're never going to build your business. So we stress that to our agents all the time, is that you build your business through word of mouth and referrals. Sure, you can spend money on postcards and direct mail and billboards or whatever, but the vast majority of your business is going to come through word of mouth and referrals.
So you are definitely known as a Tosa-based, Tosa knowledge.
Oh, sure.
When you were first trying to build that recognition, did you do any type of advertising, or maybe you still do, to just kind of remind people, I guess?
Sure. The first year that we started Firefly in 2010, Angela, we decided we wanted to spend our marketing dollars on supporting things that were going on in the community. So right away, we started sponsoring the Tosa Farmers Market. The Tosa Farmers Market was just starting out. It had only been in operation for a year or two. They needed some influx of cash to grow it a little bit. And we thought, this is a great opportunity for us. Let's become a sponsor of the Tosa Farmers Market. We then became sponsors of a live music series in the village of Wauwatosa called Tosa Tonight. We also are sponsors of the Wauwatosa Historical Society Art Fair. It's actually called the Firefly Art Fair. And we also sponsor a live music series at the Tosa Pool called Firefly Fridays. So having your name there at those different venues, and we bought a branded 10 by 10 tent, and we would sit at those events with our tent up and a table, and we'd have plastic chip clips or bottle openers or whatever to give to people, and slowly but surely got our name out there as big supporters of the community. And I think that's really important. If I were a new agent starting out in Greendale and I didn't know anybody, that'd be the first thing I'd do, is I'd try to find things that I could get involved with, first off with my neighborhood, but secondly with the community, with the municipality, to get your name out there and show that you're part of the community. to me, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Sponsoring a team or high
Any,
school
yeah,
football, or what are you passionate about? Maybe you're in the PTA and you get your name out that way, or there's lots of different opportunities there.
yep, absolutely. And again, it's great goodwill for the community.
Yep.
We hear this all the time. I just got a complimentary letter or email from a client that had worked with one of the Firefly agents, and I think what they said is, not only were we happy with this agent, but your involvement in the community does not go unnoticed. And
Yeah.
we don't hear that all the time, but it's great when we're at the farmers market on a Saturday morning and someone comes up to the tent and just says, "Hey, I just want to thank you guys for your participation in the community. I'm not selling my house. I'm not going to sell my house, but it's great that you guys
Yeah.
participate." And those are great things to hear,
Well, and it builds a level of trust too. And I always
Sure.
say that person might not be looking to sell, but their neighbor might approach them and say,
That's
"Hey,
right.
just so you know, I'm I'm thinking about selling soon." And then you want your name to be the one that they think of.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So do you have 4 kids? Do you have 4 children?
I have 4 children. I've got
Okay.
3 adult children. 2 of them work for Firefly,
Okay.
and then 2 do not. So, but the 2 that work for Firefly are actually now partners in the organization. We sold them a chunk of the business a few years back, and then I also have another partner, or I should say member of the LLC, that we sold a chunk of the business to a few years back. I'm going to be retiring soon. I'm 62. I'm getting close to
Sure.
retirement age, and we felt as a good succession plan for the business was to sell off a piece of it now so that we can get them started on the ownership track, and hopefully it'll be a smooth transition
Yeah.
when that happens.
So do you think your kids saw what you were doing and they liked the schedule and they liked the last minute showings, or did they like to see the fruits of your labor?
I think, obviously real estate's not for everybody. And both of my adult children have children of their own, and they recognize that the hours are sometimes not ideal. They recognize that it's a business that one day you're working 12 hours straight and the next day you're taking a nap at 2 p.m. I mean, that's just the way this business works. But I think they saw the example that Colleen and I started, and the level of service that we try to provide for our clients. They obviously saw the money. If you're a top producer in this business, the money. I mean, one of the really beautiful things about real estate is you're running your own business, and there's no limit to the amount of money that you make. There's also no limit to the amount of money you're not going to make. There are many agents that work countless hours that, if they were to calculate it, are making minimum wage because the transactions just don't happen for them. But I think they were intrigued by those things. They're both wildly successful, and I couldn't be more proud of them.
Oh, that's awesome. And they're going to take over someday.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Yeah, good for them. That's very cool. My husband tries to tell me to, with my company, oh, maybe one of the kids will want to take it over one day. I'm like, I don't know if they like what they see.
Well, we've all handled that 10:30 p.m. phone call. We've all handled the client in tears. We've all handled the difficult client. You have to be able to wear a lot of different hats in this business, and you have to be able to be, like an armchair psychiatrist. You have to be a person that has great listening skills, and you have to be a problem solver. But you also have to be running a business. And I stress this to our agents all the time: is that you are running your own business, and if your goal is 20 transactions a year, you're the one that has to put an action plan in place to reach that goal. If your goal is 10 transactions a year, that's great. But at Firefly, I have a very a very low tolerance for what I call hobbyists,
Yes.
agents who say things like, well, I just dabble in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
That is really not a good look. It's not a good look for our industry, and it's not a
Yeah.
good look for that individual, because this is a very serious business. We're handling people's largest financial asset, and to take the attitude that it's a hobby for you or that you're going to dabble in it, you would never go to a doctor or an attorney.
Yeah.
Angela,
100%.
right. If you were getting LASIK surgery, if you decided, you know what, I'm not going to wear glasses anymore, I'm going to go get LASIK surgery, would you go to someone who said, well, I'm a hobbyist. I
I
just
do it part-time.
I do it part-time. I do 3 or 4 a year.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not, to me, that's not someone I regard with a high level of confidence. And at Firefly, we try to, our goal is every agent sells a minimum of 10 houses per year. And that's way above the MLS average. But to me, that shows that you've got competence and that you're also really practicing real estate at the highest level,
You're
as
doing it
opposed to,
regularly. Yeah.
right. Instead of just holding a license, and then when Aunt Betty wants to sell her house, I'm available.
Yeah.
To me,
You can't be ready. You can't be knowledgeable. Yeah.
no. And again, we all deal with that, where we work with an agent on the other side of the transaction. Is they're from they're from Wausau, but they want to help their
Right.
daughter buy a house in Wauwatosa, and they don't know anything about the market, and
Mhm.
they don't understand how things are working or how fast things are going or what type of contingencies are customary in our area. So, but that's the nature of our business, Angela, is that there's and I'm not going to get on a soapbox here, but there's a very low barrier to entry in this business, and it's part of the reason why people, in my opinion, don't view real estate agents at the highest level. I mean, they always come out with these surveys and these studies about, where do you rank this occupation, and there's a doctor and a lawyer and a paramedic and a firefighter and a police officer. And then, toward the bottom is the used car salesman and the insurance salesman and the real estate agent. And it's because of that. It's because there's far too many people in this industry that just don't practice competently, and it's unfortunate. It's something that really should change, but it doesn't. I don't see any change in the near future.
Yeah. Well, and that's reflected in why you started, or Colleen started in real estate to begin with. And I hear that a lot.
Right.
Is I had this transaction and I felt like I
Right.
could have done a better job than my agent, or I wanted to do this so I knew none of my clients would ever have to go through what I went through.
That's right. Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
Yeah.
And again, it's something that the quality agents have to fight. Is
Exactly.
you have to show your competence, and you have to show that you're an experienced agent. And it's especially tougher for younger agents when you've got an agent. I've got several agents in at my brokerage that are in their late 20s, and I coach them all the time that you have to win the confidence of the first-time homebuyers' parents when they show up. They have to see that you're a competent individual, and you have to be able to answer their questions intelligently and confidently, because what you don't want to happen is you don't want them to leave that showing or leave that home inspection and tell the kids, hey, your agent doesn't know what he's talking about,
Right.
or your agent isn't you should be working with someone who's got more experience.
Mhm.
So projecting that level of competency and confidence is critical, especially for young people.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it makes it so much harder for the experienced agent to sometimes gain the trust of their prospective clients, because they might have been burned in the past, and you have to really, be creative sometimes and thinking of ways to prove that you do know what you're doing. And sometimes testimonials, I think, go a long way in doing that, but it's really hard to get past a negative experience.
Yeah, well, as Tom Ferry says, we're living in the review economy, and if you at Firefly, what we do is after our closings, we send a survey out to the client, and it just says, hey, will you please take a couple minutes and share your experience, and good or bad, we want to know if we messed up. We want to know if our agent wasn't strong on the communication, if there was any issues, please tell us about it. And that's a great way of getting that feedback. And it's a great way for our agents to collect testimonials that we can post on our website or that they can use in their social media. Nothing beats a testimonial. I mean, my wife just bought something on Amazon the other day that ended up being a total piece of junk, but she told me she was so frustrated with because she had read all the reviews and the reviews were all strong. And I said to her, I said, a lot of those reviews are fake or whatever, but when you've got a legitimate review from somebody, a legitimate testimonial where someone's raving about your service, that's gold.
That's all you need. Yeah.
That's so much better than sending out a direct mail piece that says, "Hi, you want a free market analysis?"
Right.
The fact of the matter is most people know 3 or 4 real estate agents. You could stop a stranger at the mall and say, name 5 real estate agents, and they'll be able to do it because they know 5 people that sell real estate. So being the one that they call, that's really the key.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that I'm going to kind of circle back to something that you touched on in regards to, the strange hours and kind of having to accept that that's the way this business is. But I know that it's also, and I think you would agree, important to set boundaries with clients. Is there anything that you do specifically or a way that you set expectations with clients up front?
What we tell our agents, Angela, is set the boundaries during that first consultation, whether it's a buyer consultation or it's a listing appointment. Look the client in the eye and say, Angela, I'm working with several different clients here, and my goal is to have excellent communication, that you feel that my communication with you is great. However, I have my phone on from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 p.m. at night. And again, each agent can do whatever they want. They want to say 7 in the morning to 7 at night. If they want to say 9:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock at night, whatever works for them. But if you establish those boundaries with your client from the jump, they understand that, I'm texting Angela at 8:30 and she's not responding. Oh, that's right. She told me up front, she turns her phone off at 8 o'clock. And always stress to the client. We tell our agents to always stress to the client, yes, if there's a deadline involved, if we've got an offer on the table, I will be available. But if it's not deadline related, I spend that time with my family, or that's the time that I read to my child, or that's the time I put my kids to bed. And let them know that those are those boundaries. And we've all gotten a text message at 11 o'clock at night. Hey, Angela, can you show me this house tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.? Again, if you set those boundaries up front, there's not going to be any confusion or disappointment on the client side. But you have to stick to those boundaries. And if you respond to that text message at 11 o'clock at night, now you've set a new boundary. They get, oh, she responded to me at 11. I'm going to keep texting her.
Schedule send is great through Gmail. Just schedule it to send at 9 o'clock in the morning.
That's
and then
exactly right.
Yeah. I think that that's part of what differentiates people who are experienced selling real estate full-time, or even unexperienced selling real estate full-time, but are focused on growing their business and doing a good job, from the hobbyist or, somebody who's just doing it. Because what I tell people is I treat my business as a business. This is not something I'm doing in my spare time when I happen to have a moment to check my email, or I happen to have, a break in the day to check up on things. If people know you treat your business as a business, there are business hours associated with that. This isn't, I'm not talking with clients while I'm laying in bed at night.
Right.
That's just not professional. So that's the level, that's the expectation that they want. You have to exude that as well.
That's right.
Yeah. So, anything else that you would like to share with anybody who is listening, or who will be listening, in regards to ways that they may be able to, working in real estate, maintain a healthy balance between ensuring that we are doing a great job for our clients, but also not discounting the time that we spend with our families or loved ones?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is that it's very hard to predict, to do business forecasting in this business. It's very hard to know when that next listing call is going to come in, or when that next client call is going to come in. Someone wants to work with you on the buy side. Um, so, and because a lot of our, most agents are goal oriented. They've got a dollar amount in terms of gross commission income they want to make per year, or a number of transactions they want to make per year. And I think there's sometimes a tendency you take on too much business, and you get that call and you're like, I'm not going to pass this one up. I'm going to take this listing. And then you get another call the next week. Okay, can you take another listing? And then the next thing you know, you're overloaded. That's a challenge. It's hard to know how to approach that. It's the same thing with buyers. You've got 4 buyers that you work with, and they're all looking in the same area, and you get another call, someone wants to work with you, and you don't want to turn them down. But on the flip side, you've got these 4 other buyers that are looking for the same house, and you just have to be intelligent about making those types of decisions. I think if I were to give advice for someone who's having challenges, is try to have a routine on the things you can have a routine on. If you know you want to exercise, for example, set aside the time that you're going to exercise every day at that time, because you can do it. You can exercise at 6 in the morning. Great. Then that's when you exercise every day. If you're going to spend 45 minutes or an hour a day on business development, pick a time that you can block off and spend that time. I like to read about real estate. I spend literally every day I read something about real estate, whether it's in a trade publication or at Inman News or the WRA website or the NAR website. I try to educate myself. I read the legal hotline every day. I just like to pay attention to what's going on in the business. But I set aside time every day to do that. I think just pick the times that you can for those routine type items. So you've got the time set aside. So when you get the call, hey, can you show me a house at 5:30? Okay, yeah, I could do that. No worries.
Yeah, that's great advice.
The other thing is, for many agents, it's so important to have a support side, to have someone, whether it's a spouse or a friend or maybe even another agent in the office, that can help you when you've got those last minute situations. A lot of my agents at Firefly are married and have children, and they can rely on their spouse to, hey, you know what, I'm not going to be able to go to junior soccer game today. Can you take the kids to the soccer game, or can you do this, or can you do that? That's critical in this business, is especially for top producers, is to have that support system on the side that's going to help you.
Yeah. And all the success in the world isn't worth it if you're missing those things that really are important to you, the soccer games or the concert or whatever it is.
Right. And again, setting boundaries and having limits on your business, and sometimes just having to say no and say, I'm sorry, I have a commitment. And I told that to my daughter many years ago. As I said, you don't have to make an excuse. You don't have to say it's Mila's soccer game. All you have to say is, I have a previous commitment.
Yeah.
Period. That's it. You don't owe anybody an explanation. Sometimes that commitment is just spending time by yourself. Sometimes that commitment is just honoring your own personal space for that particular day. And someone calls you up and says, I want to see this house in 45 minutes. I'm sorry, I have a previous commitment. I'm not going to be able to help you on this one. Let me see if I can find another agent to help you in the office. And that's just a big part of this business.
I agree. There were years where I would just say I have an appointment when I was maybe going to my son's baseball game. And then I came to the realization at one point, I said, you know what? I'm not going to make apologies for going to my kid's baseball game. I'm just going to say I'm going to the baseball game. That's just the way it is. And then, maybe I run into them at the baseball game. You told me you had an appointment. You know what I mean? So,
my appointment was at the baseball game.
Yeah, it was very freeing to just say, you know what? It is what it is. Yeah. Maybe I'm not the right agent for you if you want me to skip the baseball game.
Well, right. And I just at our last sales meeting at Firefly, we have once a month meetings, and um, I talked a little bit about firing your buyer. That the day
Mm,
sometimes come when you have to fire a buyer, where you have to say, you know what, this isn't a good fit anymore. And I think you're going to be better served by another agent. And
yeah.
it's a sad and sometimes frustrating part of this business, but sometimes you do have to do that. Sometimes people are just not a good fit, and they don't respect your time, or they're unreasonable, and it just
Mhm.
they're better served by somebody else.
Right, exactly. And there's going to be another agent out there who would be a
That's
better
right.
fit, and that's best for both parties.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
all right. Well, thank you so much. I truly appreciate your time and talking to me. I was been wanting to talk to you for a while. We've never actually met in person,
No,
which is
no. I think we
strange.
may have had a deal together a few years back. I
Yeah.
don't remember, but I respect your business. And we didn't really talk about this, but really one of the great things about the real estate business is that there are so many different business models, and there are so many different opportunities for people, and that's continuing to happen. We're starting to see even more um,
Like
disruption.
variations and
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's great for the consumer. We still get calls, or we still have agents that go on listing appointments, and they're like, the seller will say something along the lines of, "Well, you're 6%, right? Because everybody's 6%." I'm like, no,
Yeah.
there's all sorts of different options out there, and there's different ways for people to do business, and it's great that there's competition. There should be even more competition, and I think sometimes our industry frowns upon different business models that are better for the consumer. And
Yeah.
I think that's really one of the most exciting things about real estate right now, is that things are changing, and people are waking up to the fact that it's not it's not going to be the way it used to be, or it doesn't have to be the way it used to be.
Yeah,
There's
I think
different
it's
alternatives.
exciting.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think it's exciting to see different ideas that maybe you didn't think of, or oh, this, I think it's really cool. And I agree. I think that consumers, they should have a choice, and know that they have choice and options. And just like a specific realtor who might not be a good fit, sometimes a certain business model isn't a good fit, and that goes all around.
That's right.
So um, I really appreciate you saying that. So thank you.
You betcha. And
Oh,
hopefully we'll see each other down the road. And if I ever see you at a industry event or whatever, feel free to come up and say hi, and I'll look for you also.
absolutely, will do.
All
Have a
right.
great rest of your day.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Doug.
Angela. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.
If you have found value in these episodes, please be sure to share and subscribe. I have so much more in store with guests that I can't wait to learn from.